a lot of freelancers have gone from freelancer to MSME level.
Really?
Yeah, so they've started hiring people instead of just working at home on their computers. They've learned that you can actually build a business.
That's interesting.
And then hire people to work for you.
What do you call that? Like a gig-trepreneur?
Yeah, that's a good term for it. Gig-trepreneur, yeah.
Welcome to the innovation ecosystem. Jason, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Jason Dela Rosa. I'm the founder of Bounce Back Philippines. So we're a SME resilience group. So we help SMEs recover. We help them recover during the crisis, and we're trying to create programs to help them recover beyond the crisis. Yeah.
Okay, so Jason, one of the nice things about this interview is that you're not what we'll call a conventional corporation. You're more like an organization, right?
Yes.
And you are a child of the pandemic.
Yes. Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we started the group. I started the group March 12th of 2020. So that was a few days before the first lockdown in Manila. And I just wanted to create a small group of friends who wanted to help frontliners and to help a few small businesses. So I added 20 friends together from the business sector. I myself am an entrepreneur, so I have a lot of friends in business. But I got surprised when, the next morning, I got like 500 requests to join the group.
Wow.
Then the next day, 1,000 requests.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess people saw that this was a safe space for them, or a place wherein they can really help each other out and collaborate.
And now that the pandemic is over,
Yes.
how is Bounce Back evolved or changed in this regard?
Okay, so we're more organized now than before. It was rather chaotic before. And our focus now is really SME preparedness and resilience, because we don't know when new challenges may arrive in the future. So we want SMEs to be more prepared digitally. We want them to be prepared financially as well. So we're actually creating a lot of learning sessions. We'll be having a summit this November 25th in Tagaytay, bringing them all together and then inspire each other and open a space for collaboration between SMEs. So
do you feel, because all right, we're in this situation now where we've just, we can't say the pandemic is over, but we're like dealing with it, right?
Yes.
And now we're teetering on the edge of global recession.
Yes.
Do you feel like it's like a 1-2 punch to Philippine entrepreneurship?
Okay. So, you said global recession, then there's inflation, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's a rather difficult time for smaller entrepreneurs, because they have to really balance. Their purchasing power had really weakened during this time, right? So we are trying to teach them how to make their operations more efficient, because it's not enough to be digitally present, right? There are a lot of SMEs. When we took the survey, or we released the survey, almost 100% have adopted some sort of digital strategy, having a Facebook page, having a social media presence, but 90% are not converting, right? So a lot of SMEs need help in making sure their profit margins are higher, have access to alternate suppliers, because the supply chain has, everything went wrong with the supply chain. They get raw materials much more expensive. Yeah. So that's the end of, that's where we're trying to help the SMEs with. Yeah.
So would you say that the failure rate is up? Because, there's, we'll call it for SMEs, there's like the birth rate and the death rate.
Yes.
Right? do you find them to be pretty steady, or is like the birth rate rising and the death rate falling, or is it the other way?
Okay, so I'm pretty optimistic about what's happening, and based on, again, our interviews and our focus group discussions, SME sentiment, it's rising. They're more hopeful and more positive about the future, and they feel that their savings are also going up. There's more interest right now in opening face-to-face businesses and actually leaving the online space a bit.
Oh,
Yes,
interesting.
Yes, you can see that franchising and franchise businesses are on the rise right now because people want to now explore going out again and say, hey, I want to explore the face-to-face business again, right? Like I myself, we have online businesses. Our business-to-consumer business actually went down rather than up.
Right.
Like we're into vegetables. I have a venture in vegetables. So we saw that, for example, they would rather go to the supermarket and buy their vegetables now rather than go online and buy their vegetables.
So,
right?
so you're seeing that at first there was a big surge of digital purchasing behavior, but that tide is receding a bit.
That's receding a bit. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you think? Well, I know it's hard to predict the future, but do you think that things will just go back to the way they are, or will some things stay online?
I think we will steadily increase. Our digital will always go in an upward trend.
Okay.
It's really educating the SMEs on how to properly use digital because they think digital strategy is just presence, right? And they don't know that you need a solid back-end strategy in order to support digital. If you want to go regional, for example, using digital, then you have to be prepared with your stocks and your raw materials, for example.
Right.
Right? If you want to, for example, you want to look for a new market using digital, then you would need to have a good strategy in terms of your product has to have an appeal for the new market that you want to go after. So there are a lot of tweaking that the SME need to do, right, in order to leverage on the digital space.
So interesting. Yeah, I mean, you have a kind of unique perspective at all, kind of like a God's eye view of it. Yeah. Do you see particular categories of SMEs? Like there seems to be a proliferation of this type of SME versus this type of SME?
Yep. So the one thriving now in digital is still the essential products, those catering to essential products where inflation doesn't really affect them that much because it's a need, right?
Yeah.
So then there's the SME that caters to more of the household electronics, so regular shopping. That has actually dropped a bit, okay, based on our surveys as well. And there is a proliferation, or a lot of freelancers have gone from freelancer to MSME level.
Really?
Yeah. So they've started hiring people instead of just working at home on their computers. They've learned that you can actually build a business.
That's interesting.
And then hire people to work for you.
What do you call that? Like a gig-trepreneur?
Yeah, that's a good term for it. Gig-trepreneur, yeah. So like you've got this virtual assistant that's hiring other virtual assistants now, creating an organization, now managing virtual assistants rather than doing it themselves.
So it's like a service-based business.
Yes, yes.
And those are rising.
So because of innovation, and they spend a lot of time learning a lot of things online during the pandemic, talk to a lot of people online, so they're able to innovate their service or their work or their business.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I guess one question that I have, I mean, because we are an innovation ecosystem, are there certain types of technology that you see are being really game changer for these businesses that are rising up?
Okay, so you've got your traditional digital e-commerce platforms that are still underutilized. A lot of them still sell using Facebook Marketplace, Instagram, but they still haven't fully utilized e-commerce platforms. We've got technology like live selling automation that's coming up. A lot of Filipinos are going into live selling because that's how they sell. They go on air, they go live, they sell products. And a lot of SMEs are thriving because of live selling. So live selling automation, which is once somebody chats, says, mine, I want that product, it automatically sends an invoice to the chat of that. So I don't have to manually write everything down.
Okay.
So live selling automation is one big thing. And then a lot of marketing tools, copywriting assistant technology helps the emerging SMEs write better copy for their website, for their proposals.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's very much augmenting the path to market.
Yes.
I've been recently speaking to some technologists who are, I would say, somewhat radical. They're in the decentralized finance space, and they're very much take down the platform, right? Like they want to create decentralized marketplaces and things like that. So I know you're aware of the technology. I guess the two questions that I would ask you is, one, do you see it happening yet? And two, do you anticipate it happening soon?
Okay. So I'm also into the Web3 business.
Okay.
So I have a blockchain venture. And how I see it is, yes, it's happening, but the way you onboard Web2 merchants or Web2 people into Web3, I feel that you have to first educate the Web2 and fix the Web2 part moving into Web3, into the blockchain. That's like what we're doing is we're easing them into blockchain without the technical terms and everything, and just create campaigns around it because they're used to campaigns and marketing campaigns. They're used to that. And then just put blockchain behind it for now. And then you introduce blockchain to them slowly until they adapt. So I've talked to a lot of Web2 or traditional businesses, and they're very, very open in exploring blockchain technology, crypto, NFTs, in order to promote their brand. Yeah.
One of the things that I have been looking at, and so there's this conversation now happening in the Philippines called the open finance conversation, where like the universality of APIs and things like that. And a lot of the discussion that they have is radically increasing the I guess you could say transaction fluency of these MSMEs. In other words, their argument has been that although path to market is very, very important, MSMEs are also, and logistics are very important, but the MSMEs themselves are limited in their ability to transact with different potential customers. Yeah. And they're what you call arguing and pushing for this, open finance environment, which does feel very decentralized and API driven and things along those lines. Do you feel that what they're talking about is realistic for the Philippines, or is it something that's really much further in the future?
I think it's a doable thing, but it's very challenging. Because if you look at the SME market, most of it is MSMEs, and their access to technology, their access to technology education is very limited, and a lot don't even have bank accounts, and they don't have financial background in terms of transacting through payment gateways and all that. So I feel that it's going to be a challenge to do that. Although if somebody can go in and create a platform or an API that that's very easy to use and easy to adapt, and a lot of merchants have to buy into it, so that they don't have a choice but to use the platform, just like how the e-wallets are doing it.
Right.
Yeah. And give incentives to people to use the platform.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And another group of technologies that I'm also talking to are the artificial intelligence folks. And I know that their aspiration is to take artificial intelligence that's traditionally being more of a pattern recognition for large organizations and large corporations, and trying to make it more and more available to SMEs. Yeah. Do you see trends like that happening? Is there adoption of AI?
Yes, I see a lot of it happening, but, another but, there's very low, there's not many people skilled to implement AI.
Right.
And you need large amounts of data in order to create a very intelligent AI platform. And SMEs, they don't keep data. They don't have data, and their data, even if they do have data, it's like really, really messy, right?
Do you think that that's going to be a fundamental? I mean, everyone that I talk to here, and obviously they're in some way biased, but they all talk about the idea of data being the new gold, and decision-making technology is going to be the way that you refine that gold and things like that. Do you think the fact that the SMEs don't keep their data, they don't keep their gold, do you think that that's going to end up hurting the SME community over the long run?
Yes, I agree that big data is gold. Not the data itself, but how it affects the business processes around. Like, for example, we are trying actually to help farmers decide on what crop to plant on a season or every crop cycle, because a lot of vegetables are going to waste, right? But the problem is there's no data on demand, on price, on of the changes in price. There's no data that says that how many wastage or spoilage happens every year. If you put all that together in one database, that's when you can come up with an intelligent decision. Says, you have to plant carrots this season for you to be able to sell everything, right? So I think what will happen is big data companies will have to go in and do it for them, collect data for them, because I don't think they have the capability. Small business don't have the capability to implement large-scale platforms that saves data. What they're doing now is Google Docs or Excel, and it's gonna be a challenge to really integrate everything. But there'll be some guys who will go in and say, okay, I'll consolidate all the data and I'll create the business. I'll create the analytics out of it, and maybe you can tap into it. Okay, tap into it and make business decisions out of it. Maybe just subscribe to it, right? And I'm hoping that there'll be somebody who'll do that.
So, well, I'll close with a little hypothetical question, then, sure. Because it sort of sounds to me like you're describing a new business model.
Yes.
Right. So, do you feel that whoever cracks that particular business model, they'll be like the next Google or Facebook or something like that?
Yes. data. I think big data equals analytics equals better business decisions, prediction, and even interaction, even the metaverse. If you have data, you have a better metaverse.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Although there is something that has been confusing me about the metaverse.
Yeah.
Maybe you can clarify it for me. When I hear, I guess what Wei Xiao calls the North, talking about the metaverse for them is a very experiential kind of thing, right? Where you've got virtual reality or augmented reality. And then we go south and we hear the conversations about the metaverse, and the metaverse conversations down south are economic. They're an economic conversation. It's all about how you create value, how you transact value. There's centralization, decentralization, all of those types of things. It's not experiential stuff. They really don't have experiential conversations that way. Can you maybe help me understand, I'll call it from the Asian perspective, why there's this schism?
Well, because a lot of people are, I think it's because a lot of people are building their own intellectual property around metaverses, that they have to set themselves apart from each other and say, no, metaverse is like this, no, metaverse is like this. At the end of the day, for me, metaverse is just a term. We've been in a metaverse ever since we got on the internet, going through a lot of interfaces, web, mobile, transactions. And if you're talking about the north side, I think they're just talking about interface or user experience, which we already have. Wearing those ocular devices, virtual reality stuff, those are just means to enter into big data, right? And the transaction side, okay, we've also been interacting with them all our lives through Facebook, through Instagram, through all of these social media. They're the back end side of the whole metaverse. So you cannot really say the metaverse is the interface. You cannot say the metaverse is the back end side or the transactions. The metaverse is everywhere. It's everything. It's if you say universe, it's the whole universe. If you say metaverse, it's the whole virtual world where we are in. And with whatever interface you use, whether it's a mobile phone or using your fingers or your eyes or your device, you can get into the metaverse using an interface. So I think they should just work together.
That makes plenty of sense to me.
Yeah.
Jason, really, it was a pleasure interviewing you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me here.